Old school versus modern BMX.
This time is bigger than Oriole, imagine that.
How much can a BMX like this weigh? My hand's level with this pedal and you can barely see it. Damn.
Back then, street didn't exist. Everything was fat, big, strong. There were no sizes back then. Same bike for everyone.
What's up guys? How's it going? Today we're with Pera from 360 because we're doing a really cool comparison. Since the cheap versus expensive BMX one was a huge hit. Today we're doing old school BMX versus modern BMX, which in this case is mine. It's a BMX made in 2022, so it has the latest parts, the most modern we can probably find.
Good morning. First of all, today we left the workshop.
How's the recovery going? By the way, I don't know if we've talked much.
Yeah, we've talked in person, but without the camera, right? The truth is, it's going to be November 24th. It'll be 3 months, and I'm very good, happy, and doing sports already. It's
Still
fantastic.
a bit uncomfortable from...
A little, because they cut my sternum from my whole chest, and that hurts a bit, but I'm good.
The important
really
thing
good.
is that you're okay.
I lost muscle mass, and now I'm catching up, but I'm super
There's
good.
a bar park right next to the shop, so you know what to do when you get a break.
Well, this video, Uri, the truth is, it's been a while since we talked, and I really wanted to do this, and we recovered that bike we had in our warehouse. To say that bike from 91, 92, okay? We're talking about 22 years ago, 24, like 32.
The 92 one was 32 years ago.
92, 2002 to 2, wow. How fast time flies, guys.
Yeah, this bike's older than me.
Wow, this bike is bigger than Oriole. Imagine that.
I'm 28 and this bike's 32.
32 years, nothing. Well, we're going to show you a bit the big differences there are from the beginning, which are the first ones, but well, between the beginnings of BMX.
You got any older ones?
No, I don't have.
This video's got a ton of support. Everyone watching subscribe, and we're not asking for that many likes, over 1,000. We're trying to find a BMX from the 70s, 80s.
From the early 80s.
And compare it against this one and this one. All right, the ultimate versus.
But well, this one, which is a mongoose, keeps all the parts from the early days, okay? To start, the big difference. If you look at the sprocket, look at this huge sprocket we have here with a huge cog versus your bike, Oriole, which has a 25 with a 9 cog. This has also been one of the great revolutions in BMX, especially in park. Street didn't exist back then. Nobody did street. Everyone did park and flat. Okay, when you come down the ramp, imagine how easy it would be to hit the coping with this huge sprocket when you didn't know or when you were starting to ride a BMX. I think it's happened to you many times that you don't go down the ramp diagonally, but you go straight down. Well, of course, you'd eat dirt because the sprocket would hit and you go forward with also the increase in weight. Of course, you have more material, you have more iron, you have more chain, and the cog, if you notice, is a threaded cog, okay? It's a threaded cog. Now, we're used to seeing the drivers that go inside the hub, but back then it was with a cog. Yes, we continue with the rear wheel, which, by the way, has just gotten a flat. We see that the rim is barely 2 fingers. Look at my finger, it's nothing at all. And compare, look at your rim, look at almost double my finger and a little more, right? Back then, the rims were also super narrow. Why? Because super narrow tires were used. This is a 1.95 tire. It's 20 by 1.95. When you're now riding 2.4 on your bike, it's a huge difference. They were super fast bikes. And one more thing, look how many spokes this wheel has and how many spokes yours has.
48 and 36.
Correct. That was also a big step, realizing that you could lower the number of spokes if the rims were a bit wider and stronger, which gave us a much harder and lighter wheel. Because of course, this bike weighs a lot too. Well, now we've seen a bit of what the transmission is. Oriole, another big change has been the chassis, the frame. If you notice, especially look at the dropouts, what huge dropouts. This is impossible to bend. And how big it is, it wasn't necessary. I mean, before. The thing is, there weren't such good materials of coated steel or with heat treatment, which has made the material much harder and lighter. So before, what was done was you want it to last longer, to hold up more, fatter.
Everyone's wondering that. How much does a BMX like this weigh? More or less?
Before they weighed more than 20 kilos.
20 kilos?
Yeah.
Let's see.
You think you don't have pegs, huh?
Let's see, I don't really notice that much difference. Maybe this one's around 14 kilos, could be...
No more.
You think? Or is mine just really heavy? Could be the pegs, right? But I expected it to be heavier. I don't know, it's one thing to lift it and another to use it, right? You definitely notice a bigger difference there. And the geometry makes it harder to lift.
the rear stays. This is because the design is like this too. As I told you at the beginning, there was also a lot of flat back then, and BMX competitions were flat competitions, quarter and hang five by the same person. You had to do the 3 disciplines to be a super complete rider. Now this is unthinkable, right? So these designs also serve to put your foot here. Okay. Another little thing that this bike has, which was also a great novelty to change from monoblock. Imagine now a person of 75, 80 kilos. This would bend every 2x3. Every 2x3 people were straightening the cranks because they were bending. No, okay. Now that system is only found in super cheap bikes. That is now unthinkable. A good bike, huh? That it's monoblock, right? Whereas before it was the only thing
And
there
on
was.
the modern BMX,
There are 3 pieces, as we can see. Okay, it's a crank, which is a bar. Okay, it's a piece, the tube, the axle that sometimes is attached to a crank or loose, which I personally like much more because that way you can move the axle and the other crank. So this, we're talking about 3 pieces. We move forward and we see this huge,
damn.
you know, this is like a tank. Do you know why these reinforcements were put on? Because the steel was very bad. It was steel. I remember almost every weekend or every 2 weekends having to go with the BMX. Because if you got a crack every 15 days, well, in those times, it was believed that the more reinforcements we put on, the more plates it would hold up. And well, it did. It was the only option
Makes sense,
that
right? It's logical.
makes sense, but of course it increased the weight more, right? Well, we can also see a super small handlebar, 8, 25, no more in super narrow. Okay, we continue in the front part, and also a big change from before. Now this headset is okay. Before, all bicycles had pressed in headsets. Okay, it's a cup. It goes directly into the frame. And what happened was that from so much falling on pointed, in the end, and get play in the headset. And it was a pain. You had to put Coca-Cola caps inside the frame. Well, now any mid-high range bike comes with integrated headsets, that the same chassis, the same frame. Okay, it makes the shape for where you put the bearing, and this makes the frame almost indestructible, and you don't have problems. Well, another thing we haven't talked about, the seat is a seat. Look how far back it is. Okay, and this is plastic.
Let's see. Holy crap, super hard.
This is super hard. Imagine when you hit yourself with your seat between your legs. Imagine hitting yourself with this seat. You know, a lot of pain. The bike's very hard.
On the other hand, I have my signature seat with Pirate, which is like a couch.
Exactly.
You want a couch on your bike? Well, look, it's that easy.
Look, another thing. Look at your seat clamp, Oriol.
Yeah.
How small? It's small with a minimalist screw. Look here at this huge clamp with 2 super fast screws. It wasn't necessary.
But this really holds up a lot more.
But do you have any problem with yours?
No, but I'm asking, is it more resistant?
With 2 screws, it holds up more. But it didn't make sense. But it was the policy of everything big, everything strong.
United States.
A little more. Like, we've said a lot of things, right? Another thing is now, okay, you see the stops. Now the modern frames, the stops for the brake house and the cable are removable so that the frame looks clean, right? Before, everything was welded. So if you wanted to remove the brake, which nobody even imagined, before everyone rode with brakes, even with 2 brakes, that one takes 1, but most people also had another brake in the front, right? So everything was welded, pedals, monoblock.
The pedals are much smaller, right?
Yeah, of course. Before, you didn't grind with the pedals. The pedal wasn't for pedaling. Right now, the pedal has to hold up much more because we punish it a lot.
Look at the size difference. My hand's level with the pedal. This one here, it barely moves. The difference is crazy. What size is the frame?
Okay, exactly. I don't know what size it is, but it doesn't matter because there were no sizes before. 1.5 meters or 1.9 meters.
Did you have the same bike?
The same bike for everyone.
Okay, Pera, thanks a lot for today's lesson comparing an old school and a modern BMX. The truth is, there's a huge visual difference. Maybe for some people it's the same, right? But I've actually tried old school and modern bikes. I know the difference, and it's 3 times harder or more to do a trick with an old school. And maybe if you haven't tried a bike like this nonsense, I did it in Madrid. They lent me an old school bike once and it literally took me 5 minutes to ride a few meters. And well guys, that's it. Thanks again to Pera. You know you have the code INGLADA for the 360 store if you need any bike, any part, any BMX product, and also subscribe to my secondary channel where I'm doing, pay attention, daily videos reacting to BMX videos, videos that aren't BMX. And look, just the other day, I reacted to a video from the 2000s from me using a bike. Well, more modern than this, but it's still crazy to see him ride because the style and the tricks are completely different and I recommend it. I'll leave a link to that specific video in the description. And well, also download City Legends, the best urban sports app that if you download it, you can find spots by filtering them on the map. For example, I want a spot with a railing near my area. The closest spots with that feature will come up. Raining? Well, I want a spot with a roof and it'll show up. Yeah, they're innovating besides battles and 1,000 other stories. So download the app, link below. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you liked it and see you in the next video. Guys, boom fresh.